So you don't know why you're here?
No, I don't know why I'm here. You're the one that called us, right?
I did. I called you more than anything because Lieutenant Mario Molina has a hate crime investigation open with me, right? I'm letting you know I'm the suspect. There are events happening now currently. They're not here. They're in Florida, but they're related to that hate crime investigation. It's an emergency. However, because of that hate crime investigation, because of the events, just to not get into the details of it, because of the events of that hate crime investigation, Tampa PD, where the emergency is happening, where the incident is happening, is refusing to address that concern. So when I called 911, I said specifically many times over, that's what's happening. There's basically an emergency that's related to an investigation in San Francisco that is happening in Tampa. I want to do one or two things without getting into it because of there's been roadblocks as far as this morning contacting SFPD and Tampa PD. So at this particular point in time, as far as like right now, what it is, and I believe I've gotten this solved. This is also why it's kind of an issue. But basically, I wanted to make sure that Lieutenant Molina would be aware of the fact that there's an emergency right now that's actually being hindered of being addressed because of the events of the hate crime investigation here in San Francisco. And then, follow up, investigate, whatever has to be done. But just to actually get back to me as to what's going on. So just to kind of clarify again real quick, I was given a CAD number. I was told, hey, email Detective Lieutenant Molina, email him. Well, I wasn't told this, but anyway, I was given a CAD number. It is my understanding that with that CAD number, he's at least able to access the fact that that phone call was made today, the information that I gave to the operator, and that is associated to that particular investigation, and then hopefully he would follow up. So for me right now, what it comes down to is you guys are two officers. There is an incident that I could definitely need help with, but what I've been led to believe is because it's happening in Tampa, the only thing you guys can do is alert the lieutenant that has an investigation open here, and then I guess he would follow up or, do whatever. I don't know what would be the appropriate step for that. For me personally, I would like to focus on the emergency situation that's happening in Tampa. But if that's not something that you guys can do or should do, then it really just comes down to I received a CAD number for the call. Hopefully the information in the CAD is accurate. Really, more than anything, is having some kind of follow-up from Lieutenant Molina that doesn't kind of start with why am I here, but very specifically, I am here because of this. And then we can kind of go, kind of address it that way.
So in regards to your initial investigation with Lieutenant Molina, have you been in contact with him? I've been trying
to. So what happened was that was April 30th. It was started by Sergeant Kelly Kruger. Mm-hmm. She, I believe, retired on June 1st. Okay. But she came to my residence on April 30th. Without getting into it, there seems to have been miscommunication in the sense of the next day she sent me an email in regards to something completely irrelevant to the hate crime investigation. So I emailed her back, and then I haven't been hearing. However, it's an ongoing event. Like it doesn't just stop. My mother has mental health issues. I have my own health issues that are going on. There are issues with just basically San Francisco bar because there's an active eviction. My mother is on the lease as well. Her mental health status is a problem or an issue that needs to be addressed because she's on the lease. So I don't know if from my understanding, she's not even able to understand her own legal kind of requirements. She's in Tampa.
Okay. So in regards to your mom, that's gonna have to be Tampa PD just because.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know what else to kind of say. Like for me, The issue is there's an ongoing investigation. That's an emergency. I'm calling Tampa PD. They've been in contact with you before because the issue is that it's exactly what's happening. Is my mother has called SFPD as well for wellness checks here. However, what they haven't done is follow it up. So in other words, they'll do a wellness check and say, "Hey, your mom's concerned about you." And I go, "Yeah, I know. That's exactly the problem. I don't know why she's concerned about me, and I would like to kind of like at least settle what's going on because, like, for example, like right now, I have it recorded. You can listen to my mother. She's saying that she thinks I'm drinking. She has an understanding that she's inhibiting my medical. Basically, she's inhibiting my ability to have care for my heart failure. I have heart failure. Okay. Again, these are mental health issues, so it is what it is. Like, she's going back and forth from understanding, yeah, you have heart failure, that's a very serious thing, to, why do you even think you have heart failure? And it's like, well, because I was told by a doctor. Well, why would a doctor tell you that? So it kind of gets down to that thing. And what's happening is police officers or no one else is having a conversation with her about these things. So when they, kind of what happened here with SFPD, she called SFPD and told them that she believed that I was even suicidal and everything else. SFPD comes here. I'm just like, no, that's not true, but this is true. And they just focus on, well, if you're not going to kill yourself, that's cool. But that's not the end of the issue because, again, you're here now. That was in August. Things have been happening every few months now. It used to be every 6 months, maybe once or twice a year. It's just increasing. I can't control it. In other words, from my understanding, SFPD didn't want to take a report as far as her being a harasser, even though she is harassing me. So I can't address it by harassment. I'm trying to address it by mental health issues. Tampa's not doing it. So, again, for SFPD, it's kind of unfair for you two in the sense of there is an investigation open, but that officer as well hasn't even followed up for basic information. And my mother is involved in these things. Like, again, one of the things that's happening, you can hear my mother as well.
Charlie, what exactly can we do for you?
Well, I guess you
want us to take your information and pass it on and try to pass it on?
Well, it definitely should be passed on to. Definitely should be passed on.
Is that who you're trying to get in contact with, or I'm a little confused?
Well, I guess I'm confused as well in the sense of I've never been under investigation that I know of. So
if there is a pending investigation, we're not going to speak about it because we don't know about it.
I understand that. What I don't understand is what is the. I do understand the not speaking of what are the results of the information that has been provided relevant to the case. What I don't understand is the non-acknowledgement one way or the other that the information has been given that this is an ongoing thing. In other words, if it was all over, if it was just kind of like, hey, you guys put me under investigation for a hate crime, and the reason you did that is because I'm trying to get in contact with a lawyer who is legally mandated to help me, because this is, again, these are newer laws. I would hope that you've been informed of them, but because San Francisco passed a law that under evictions there would have to be a mandated lawyer, it's a mandated lawyer. This lawyer is also not contacting me. It seems to be because she doesn't want to address my mother's mental health issues. Now, those are two different things, but they're still the same. In other words, there's a legal requirement to have an understanding of whether or not my mother is mentally capable, just in general.
Right.
And then there's a second one that would be relevant to the case. So in this particular situation, whether it be SFPD or Tampa PD or mental health officials or professionals, someone is mandated one way or the other to actually address my mother's actions. My mother's actions are not. I understand that. Again, I just kind of want to. You asked me how I could. You asked me how you could help. I'm trying to explain to you what I understand, and then state what I don't understand. So, what I understand is she's currently having mental health issues. Because they're mental health issues, they kind of come and go. They're up and down. Some days they're there, some days they're not. It's within the last 24 hours in which my mother has seemingly still been under an episode or needing attention. I'm trying to get attention to, or I'm trying to get her help. I understand that you can't. Again, I I guess I want to stop there in the sense of I do know there's been communications between SFPD and Tampa PD. And then now, I guess it seems as if it's only out of convenience. And without getting any further into it, is it simply that it's purely always at your discretion as to whether or not you're going to contact another police department? Because it has happened. So it's that's where I'm kind of lost on it.
That would be the investigator of your hate crime incident.
No, but this has happened at other times. That's why I'm asking.
But it would be incumbent on the sergeant or investigator of your case.
No, again, so I understand. I understand while inactive cases are happening. I don't mean while inactive cases happen. What I mean is during the times like when I refer to the wellness check that happened in August. There's also another. There's an actual SFPD incident number on that because in conjunction around the time that happened, in other words, my mother called a wellness check, seemingly falsely. When during that same time frame, what happened was I ended up putting a chain now, but it seemed as if people were entering my home. There are two people that do have keys to my home. Again, my mother, because my mother's on the lease, my mother can gain access to the apartment whenever she wants. And she refuses to answer whether or not she has a key. Now, again, I understand one of the things that happens is because she's in Florida, people are kind of like, well, she's in Florida. The thing is, my mother has many times flown into San Francisco unannounced. And so those things were, that's also related to the call that happened in August in which the SFPD officers revealed that they were given information from Tampa PD, and that is how they came to the conclusion to make their decision at the time that they would not address any issues with my mother because they had been informed from Tampa PD that apparently I was only calling my mother because I had financial issues and there was nothing else going on. So I don't know where to go from that in the sense of I do know that Tampa PD has contacted San Francisco PD. They told me that they did make a decision based off of that communication. There needs to be a communication at some point in time, whether it be either through the detective with the hate crime investigation or otherwise. But my question is just simply, it has happened in the past during non-investigations. In other words, at a time in which I wasn't under investigation by SFPD, knowingly at the very least. And so I just don't understand why it seems as if it's very one-sided. In other words, my mother seems to be able to call, even in this situation, it's a situation in which really somebody should be talking to her. My mother tends to call and no one wants to talk to her, whether it be Tampa or SFPD. And I'm just kind of not, because of the fact that it's an ongoing event. She has mental health issues. Like right now, currently, I have no idea what's going on in her head. As far as I know, she believes that I am drunk, that I'm not dying of heart failure, and that I have contacted SFPD literally
so Charlie,
for fun.
If you're concerned about your mother who's in Tampa, you have every right to call in for a well-being check for her.
No,
as she does for you. You see what I'm saying?
I hear you. Is Tampa saying now that they won't do it? What it comes down to, and this is really what it is. Obviously, someone's lying. One of the biggest issues I have, my uncle's a cop. It just is what it is. I don't know other way to put it, man. Like that should anger you, and somehow or another, it is being allowed to lie to police officers blatantly in ways that are surprising to me to not have any reaction. And so given that you're supposed to, whether stated or not, at some point in time, try to find out the truth, what can I do to aid that?
We can pass your information along to whoever took over Sergeant Kruger's incident.
I believe it's Molina, but I'm not sure. I know there are two other officers.
Molina's in charge of her unit.
Okay, so
if she retired, then she would have passed on your incident to someone else.
Yeah.
So we can pass on your information.
Okay, so yeah, let's leave it at that. I'm sorry. It seems as if you're not able to provide any more info, and I don't mean to use this as a therapy session.
What information would you like us to pass on to Lieutenant Molina? So I know you have the open case already.
Yes.
So you want him to contact you?
If you could please, first and foremost, to apologize for the way that I have addressed him in certain emails because of the fact it's urgent and it is important that it gets responded to. I have used language and approached it in a way that has been meant to inhibit a fast response, not necessarily a well-informed one. And so I apologize for my responsibility in that. But first, so just if you could just pass that on, however way you want to put it. But just more than anything is this. I mean, there's medical fraud going on. As far as I could understand right now, there is a medical record based on my mother's words that she herself, again, I have the recording. I also have communications. So to summary, there are communications. There are documented communications in which my mother is stating that she has stated incorrect information to both SFPD and medical staff, which SFPD has used in determining how they would proceed in other investigations. Okay. So if you want me to, you're not writing. It seems as if I'm hoping that you can kind of just summarize it.
My body camera.
Okay, so it's just basically, I'll say it hopefully in one sentence. Currently, there is documentation and information of the fact that my mother has stated that she has stated incorrect and false information to SFPD and medical staff, in which they have made decisions that need to be corrected.
Okay, I'll let you know that. And it affects your current incident with him.
Well,
with the case.
It affects two separate things. It affects my health care because I do not feel comfortable seeing doctors who can't accept the fact that I can't speak for myself. In other words, for some reason, what these doctors are doing, although they won't contact my mother to verify, what they're saying, your mother said this, even though you're 40-something years old, your mother said this, we're not going to listen to you about it. So that's affecting my ability with healthcare, but more importantly, as well as affecting the legal proceedings. Because the fact is, my mother is not, she is both seemingly aware and unaware of of legal consequences of her either actions or inactions. So the legal consequences to my mother's actions or inactions is not clear whether she understands that. And then separately, there's basically medical fraud that needs to, at some point in time, at least have some kind of answer to, because it is inhibiting my ability to be able to have proper health care for my heart failure. So
I'll let him know.
Okay.
And then have him contact you regarding the open case. Aside from that, today, do you need any medical assistance or services that we can provide?
No, I really would just like someone to be able to speak to my mother. I don't know. Again, this is one of those where I understand that you're limited in the sense that you yourself may not be able to complete the task. What becomes difficult to understand is not having the ability to provide any other resources or proper ways to proceed. In other words, what I don't like about this is the fact of the matter is I have been under a hate crime investigation. I don't like that. I don't like saying the things I've said. I don't like being the way I've been because I have needed to have some sort of urgent response to the fact that somebody else needs an urgent response. And so I just want, how do you deal with that? I can't be the only person in the world, especially in San Francisco, who has some kind of issues in communicating with their parents that do have legal consequences. That it's understandable that it's your discretion whether or not you want to enforce them, but they do have consequences for me.
I can't speak to how Tampa PD is going to do it, but if your mother calls our department for a well-being check, then we come out and do a well-being check.
Yeah, you have, and that's the thing. But that's exactly what I'm saying. My mother has threatened many. Right now, it would be appropriate for my mother to do a well-being check. And I think that's kind of the issue. Like, it would be appropriate for her to. I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to keep going in circles. But it's just that, like, it doesn't seem right that no one's addressing this. Okay. But it seems as if you will. So
I'll let Lieutenant Molina know.
Okay.
Their investigator's gonna be the one that's best.
Yeah.
They'll know the most about this.
Hopefully.
Is there anything else we can help you with at this point?
No, thank you. I'm sorry. Because if you keep asking, I'm going to say yes. So,
All right. Have a good day.
yeah, hopefully you too.